you can't interpret your results. Okay. For instance, if there's an authorization problem within an application, and I can read someone else's balance of an internet banking site, how do I know that it's someone else's balance that I've read? Understand what I'm saying? It's very difficult to actually interpret the results that you're getting back. The other thing that is also difficult to do is, a lot of the time, the responses that you're getting back is only a frame set. So it's only a frame set, it redirects you to another page. So if you look at the results, normally on a network level, you only get that frame set, you don't know what it looks like. If there's flash involved in the response that you get back, how do we know what it is? Unless you can read flash by looking at the hex, I can't. So it's a little bit tricky to interpret even the result. Okay, I'm not going to go through this. The only thing that's interesting here is that we had an interface at some stage that caused mental problems in sensitive users. They needed therapy afterwards. So we kind of, we skipped that. And we're now sitting with a thing that is version 1.0.15, and we actually use it in-house. Okay. Now I'd like to show you this. Now the design criteria for EOR, the thing is called EOR. Right? We wanted to call it WebDonkey, but we couldn't because there was a WebDonkey already. So we called it EOR. Okay. Now with EOR, with the design criteria for EOR was that the user can choose which part of the application he or she actually wants to test. Okay. The user then walks the application, basically do a click-through of the application, filling in whatever necessary information to go onto hidden parts of the application that a mirror can't get to, right? And what we use is we use Paros, or the at-stake web proxy, file writer, to basically write to file as we click through this whole application, right? Not the whole application, whatever parts we want to test of this application. We want to give the user the ability to disable actions, for instance, log out, or actions that we know if we start messing with this action, it's going to kill our session ID. Right? We want to have the ability to hard code variables to certain other values. We want also the ability to keep variables as they were when the guy served the actual page. So the default of what that values actually were. And obviously, we then want to give the ability to fuzz certain variables. So we're going to give a whole lot of different strings that we're going to pass into these parameters. And we're going to ship it off to the web server and see what to the application and see what the response is going to be. And then the ability to configure fuzz strings in that. Now the interesting part is here is that we use a real browser to render the response. Okay? Because the best thing that can render HTML is a browser. Okay, you can get the HTML as a stream of text and look at it and look for keywords, but the best thing you can do is have a browser render it. So what we do is we let a browser render that actual request, render the response, and then we look at, we take a graphical snapshot of what the browser looks like at that stage, right? Plus, we find the text that sits within the browser and we put that into a file as well. So you have the graphical representation of what it looks like, plus you have the actual HTML that was returned to you at the same time. And then you can start searching through that content. And you can basically start viewing all of the responses as a kind of a movie, right? And if you see a flicker on the screen or something changes, you can stop and you can say, okay, show me exactly what was the different response, what was the different parameters and the values that I set up for this particular, that rendered this particular response. Okay, and then you can replay that request and say, now you can play with it a little bit further. So, as time is few, I want to not go through this, and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so this application itself, the idea was that we crack this the password for this, but we don't have the time for that, right? So I'm going to log in here, and this application here is from Swiss Cheese Industries, right? It's something that we wrote. The reason why it's Swiss Cheese Industries is it's full of holes. Okay. Okay, so this application is really bad. It's really badly written, and it's riddled with different holes. And basically what we've done is we've now browsed through this application, right? Recording every step that we've done. We can then go to EOR, okay, and load the actual request log, and it would give me two different views. The first view is the action view, where I see all the different actions, right? And I can drill down on an action. So for instance, if I want to drill down in customer.pl, that's not a good one. Let's take board.pl. It will tell me it takes 4 parameters: email, message, subject, and submit. And I can drill down on email, and it will tell me what was the value that I've submitted for email. But maybe you want another view on it from a parameter side. You click on parameters, it shows you all of the different parameters that was used within this application. Now imagine this is not a lot, but if you're sitting with an application that's 300 pages big, this list becomes very long, right? And I can maybe look at username. I click on that. It tells me the username was test@test.com. It will tell me all the different values that that particular variable could have. And if I click on this, it would tell me where, because remember, it could be different values, right? It would tell me exactly where, what action was associated with that particular value. Okay. So what I can do now is I can set up, for instance, let's set up a couple of variables. I can even do a search. So for instance, I want to get one that's nice. I go into name. I can see that it is support.pl, and when I switch over, you'll see here at the bottom, it always have that as a little text field. If I switch over to actions and I click on search, it would show me where support.pl is. Now, it looks really easy, but like I said, imagine 2 pages of these actions and parameters, and it's really nice to see how the whole application sits together. The next thing that I do is I actually go mark which variables I want to fuzz. I can say fuzz those, right? They become green. I say this variable I want to hard code to a particular value. It would show me the value that it was. And I want to hard code it to do it too. And the login button I actually want to disable. So I'm going to disable that, and you'll see that it changed to gray. Then I go to my fuzz fields. I load a couple of fuzz strings in. Okay, there is a thing that says for cross-site scripting. There is something for SQL injection, null byte parsing, directory traversal. There's a different kind of, and I can add to it as I want to, and I can load it from file or whatever. And then I actually do the fuzz itself. Now with the fuzz, I'm going to load a fuzz on fuzz, right? And you'll see that it opens up an IA browser that then does the actual request. It's got some timing there that tells you how long to wait before taking a screenshot. And it will go through all of these things and actually perform all of those actions. The state variables, in this case, in terms of cookies, that we want to change, right? Because we have to log in with the correct set of credentials to provide a correct session ID. This we can change. I'm gonna stop this, right? You get the idea, right? And I can resize all of this, and at 1024 by 768, it's kind of crappy. You should see it at 1600 by 1200. Then you can get all the responses that you actually want to. Okay, so let's just stop this. Right. In here, you'll see the cookie, right? And this I can edit, so I can actually change this value to, let's say, test. Oops. And I say edit. And so now every request that gets sent out will get sent out with this actual HTTP header. Okay. Because maybe you're testing this application 2 days after you walk the application, then the session ID would not be valid anymore, correct? I suspect that if I run it now, yeah, you see, because the session ID is now gone, it will ask me to log in, please. Okay. On this side, I can basically now load again a script, and it will show me the response in a small little window there, right? You see the response changing, and I can click on this, and I can say play, and I'll go through the request there, and it will show me the responses. I'm going to make it a little bit faster. Okay, you see there, and if we go back here, whoops, wrong button. Let's just play through there again. Okay. Oops. Hey, okay, go one frame back. You'll see over here that we have an interesting situation, right? Whereby we can actually do a command execution, right? By adding a character, pipe, dir character. I'm not going to go into the specifics of web application security, but you can clearly see there is a thing coming back that says directory of inetpub scripts coming back to us, right? And then we can go to the specific actual parameters that were sent for this particular thing, right? We can now replay that request. In this case, it would ask us to log in because we just trashed the actual cookie, right? But in any case, you would then go to the request and say replay the request. In this case, like I said, because we trashed the cookie, we now have to log in again. We can, if you don't trust me that it's working, we can quickly load that script again. Okay, of course that's blank. Let me run this in the background. Okay, we'll let it run through to that particular one, and then we'll stop it, right? It's close by. There we go. Okay, and I'll stop it over here, and I'll go to my yes. See, that's why you should have canned demos. Right. Okay, you must just trust me on this. I'll go to the more familiar screenshots. Okay. Right, so that gives you an idea of how the thing looks. Like I said, the first strings, you've seen all of this. Challenges here, logic between parameters, values, action. It's actually quite difficult to get that tree sorted out. It's not that easy. Screenshots were a little bit difficult. Now, you would say this is a complex tool, but it's a complex problem. So there is no button that you can press that will do web application assessments for you. It won't ever happen because of the complexity of the problem itself. Now, given the design constraints that we put onto this tool, it's probably the simplest way that you will ever do a web application assessment with this tool. In fact, one of the things I want to do is I want to have a go at the application that they have up here with Zone H and see how this tool would, fare against that kind of situation there. We have a list of new features. I'm not going to go through all of the features because that's features that we want to implement. I'm not going to go through all of that because I know I'm taking the food out of your mouth. And finally, this is the location of the tools that you can download this if you want to take a picture of that or if you want to write it down. Everything sits within research. So we have www.sensebus.com/research. In there, you will find all of these tools. So it's slash research slash EO slash research slash webto slash crowbar bdblog